our labor costs increase faster than concrete costs. So our concrete to labor ratio changes over time. And the bars, okay, let me show you the bars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The white color one is reinforced concrete. Reinforced concrete metal formwork, post-tension concrete, post-tension metal formwork, precast. So the most expensive is reinforced concrete today. The cheapest is precast. But if you turn back the clock, you can see, well, some of those technologies were not available back then, right? Now you can see that when this first came out, metal formwork first came out, it was more expensive. So when new technologies come out, they're more expensive. You have to wait until your labor cost goes up before it changes. I should move over here so that you can see. So this gives you an example over time of how things change. So when your labor cost exceeds a certain number, technology changes. So all of a sudden, metal formwork becomes cheaper. So if you are interested, do the same thing for Indonesia, and then we can track which system is best for you, because that works best for us in Melbourne. And once you know that, hopefully you as architects choose the correct technology to build. Because architects always have one funny way of thinking. You just like your own fantastic designs, look nice, but expensive. Right? Always too expensive, right? That's what the client says, too expensive. Use a cheaper method. That's how it works in Melbourne. See, our labor rate increased at 6.3% annually. Our concrete rate only increased at 5%. So the labor ratio, concrete to labor ratio changes at one particular year. Bang, it changes over, flips. A new technology becomes more economical. What I want to say is this: the transition from labor-intensive to labor-saving methods is clear. It is possible if you spend enough time looking at longitudinal data. It is possible to identify the transition points. So if I have time, or if you have time, let's sit down and work out when it would change for Indonesia. Then you can help your industry improve. You have to change. You can't. You would eventually expect to pay your workers more. Well, if you want to be paid more, your workers have to be paid more. You have to train them so that they can be paid more. So let's look for the transition points. This is another example. Melbourne, over time. Do we build in concrete or do we build in steel? See, in Australia, it's possible to get lots of information, and it allows us to do all this. When I speak to my colleagues in civil, they're like, ha ha ha, welcome to Indonesia. You won't find all this information. Right? But there is enough information from overseas to help you decide, to help you learn about where it's going to change. Our structural steel to concrete ratio has increased over time. So 6.8, 8.8, then it went up to 13.5, 13.9. Look at steel structures. Where's my cursor? Okay, look at steel structures. When that is 6.8, we have 70% steel structures. These are only for tall buildings, all right? And over time, our steel structure percentage drops from 70 until now, it's mainly concrete. So you can see how it changes like this. Swap over to another one. And the structural steel ratio changes. Is there a tipping point? Around 10? 10 or 12? I don't know. The answer is on the next slide. 13. Okay. Steel versus concrete ratio was low, but after 13, it flipped. So there is a magic number for Australia. We can work together and work out the magic number for you guys. So once you see that coming towards that magic number, it'll automatically change. First, we got to educate the construction people and then educate the architects. Change. So the choice of building material is now proven that it is based on a lot of these cost ratios. I would recommend that you use materials that are abundant. If you have lots of cement, use cement. If you have lots of steel, use steel. Lots of bricks, use bricks. Not enough timber, don't use timber. Don't cut down your forest. A lot of common sense. But some of these research helps you understand what you're trying to do. The use of imported materials and imported technology. Now that becomes a very tricky question. Are you willing to buy expensive imported materials? Does that help your economy? Does that help your industry? So use that carefully. I'm sure you need to buy foreign technology, but try not to use too much foreign technology until it becomes economical. In Australia, our labor costs have gone up so much that we can no longer produce curtain walls cheaply. So 100% of our curtain wall is imported. Guess from where? China. We no longer manufacture glass. Where do we buy glass from? We don't, you know, all the apartments that we are building, all the furniture and joinery, we are no longer competitive. Where do we buy them from? China. Everything we buy from China. We need more people to move to Australia. Where do we get them from? China. I'm just showing you pictures of cross-laminated timber. Do you have them here in Indonesia? Yes. Have you started using them in buildings? Yes? No?
No. Yes.
Not yet.
Very small.
Small volume. So that's something that is coming into Australia at a very fast rate. Many apartment buildings up to about 4-6 stories are now cross-laminated timber. I haven't found time nor the data to analyze this yet. All right, but that's what I'm planning to do. This is very common now. Cross-laminated timber. Okay. They don't.
Still there?
Sorry.
Is it still?
Columns? No. Timber. Timber columns.
The grey one?
The grey one is the plastic wrap. Okay, it's plastic wrap to prevent during construction exposure. What's driving this? Non-economics now. There's a new factor coming in, sustainability. So this is green, very green, if the timber comes from sustainable sources, because it will now capture carbon in your buildings. So now I've got to start thinking about how do I put carbon into the equation, right? Because previously it was all based on money, but when countries become richer, it's not money that matters, it's carbon that matters. So there's a new formula now. Help me think how to put carbon in. This building in Melbourne, this has been completed for about maybe 10 years. It's 10 years old now. It's a library, completely cross-laminated timber. And what they've done is they've kept the structure very open. So if you walk in, you can see that the stairs is cross-laminated timber, the columns are cross-laminated timber, floor, beams, all timber. So if you look, you can actually see it through here, right? Through the window, so all that is timber. This is my grand theory, using a production function, where production is a function of labor, capital, and materials. I'm hoping that I can produce one very compact formula that gives me per square meter cost anywhere in the world. Given input cost of 1 hour of labor, 1 cubic meter of concrete, 1 ton of steel, 1 day of crane. And I can then estimate, if you are in Hong Kong, this will be how much it costs. If you are in Jakarta, this is how much it's going to cost. If you're in New York, this is how much it's going to cost. The work's not finished yet.
What is the typical cost?
Cost of capital. Yes, cost of capital is how much money costs. So if you were to take a loan from a bank, you would be paying 10% interest now? 14% a year. Wow, that's high. That's high. Okay, so that's cost of capital. Whereas our cost of capital is relatively low. It is interest, yes, interest for loans. Because that is the cost of using money. Right? Even money has a cost. Labor has a cost. Labor cost is wages. Capital cost is interest. So using that, I'm working together with LPJK and PUPR on an industry development agenda. And if you have ideas, you can come and talk to me after this session. In terms of labor, so obviously once you understand how labor comes into these equations, you can talk about investing in training and upskilling them, improving overall output per worker based on some of these theories. Materials, what materials sector in manufacturing do you try to support? Because PUPR can actually support materials production industries. Do you support cement? Do you support timber? Do you support bricks? I understand that Krakatau Steel is in trouble. It's collapsed. Okay, well done. See, it has implications. How you build, what you build, and how it links into the overall economy. Local supply chains, maintain efficiency, new issue of carbon comes in. Technology, invest in technology, but you've got to be careful what you do with the technology. Companies, train your workers, train your managers, shift to higher knowledge content, modern methods of construction, but still understand this. You cannot jump all the way to the other end if your workers are not sufficiently skilled. If your workers are still cheap, it does not make economic sense. You build capacity, you invest in occupational health and safety, you invest in quality, and you understand also that construction is a very large sector of your economy. So it's important that people spend time studying this. I think that is the last important slide. These are my sources of data. If you need them, it's all available online. Send me an email if you want the original source. You can also send me an email if you want my Excel spreadsheets.
Wow.
Do you have time to analyze? Yeah, that's the next question. Okay, so that's me. Email me, WhatsApp me, LinkedIn, whatever, if you need to contact me. Until 15th of February, I'm just across campus at TV, level 6. I don't know what room, but you just go up there and shout. Shout, DK, I will somehow hear you. Thank you very much. Questions? Questions? Or are you confused? There are no stupid questions, only stupid answers. Come on. Why is it not painted pink? Come on, simple questions. If you want me to repeat any of the slides.
Is there any Students from building economics. Okay, only two. Okay.
Question, yes. Bahasa, yes, fine.
Tahun lalu, kenalkan saya kuliah sama S3 di Arsitektur ITB. Akhir tahun lalu saya pernah ke Melbourne. Saya tertarik dengan salah satu proyek yang ada di Swanstone Street, di mana proyek tersebut tidak terlihat bahwa itu adalah sebuah proyek pembangunan atau menaikkan level gedung gitu. Jadi pedestrian masih bisa berjalan dengan baik, kemudian tidak terlihat material atau lalu lalang
There's
tenaga
no materials
kerja.
on site. Yeah, we don't store materials on site because everything is prefabricated, precast, brought in.
So clean.
Clean, yeah, clean site. No materials on site.
Nah itu sebenarnya yang membuat saya kemarin sangat penasaran gitu, tapi tidak ada tempat untuk bertanya waktu itu. Jadi kenapa sebuah proyek gedung yang besar tapi terlihat sangat rapi gitu dari luar. Itu yang pertama. Kemudian ketika saya berada di lingkungan perumahan di mana suami saya tinggal di Avenue Street, di situ terlihat perumahan yang sedang membangun rumah. Dan saya memang waktu itu diskusi dengan suami saya tertarik gitu karena melihat rumah-rumah di Australia itu kenapa tidak ada kolom ya gitu.
Yes.
Nah pas kemarin saya lihat ke sana pas ada pembangunan, memang bentuknya kayak batu bata precast yang sudah terkotak-kotak gitu yang sekarang tinggal semacam dipasang. Apakah itu bukan maksudnya Indonesia pengen seperti itu, tapi apa yang membedakan hingga saat kondisi konstruksi di Indonesia dengan di Australia itu apakah bisa diadop ke sini sehingga kelihatan rapi juga gitu, maksudnya untuk pembangunan gedung yang sangat besar juga gitu. Terima kasih.
Okay, thank you. Wait. There's a needle here. See? OH and S. Where do I put the needle? That's how Australians work. No, it's true. It's true. The workers are paid very much. They are highly skilled. So health and safety becomes a very big issue to them. My experience in Malaysia is that when you have foreign workers, there is no care because you don't know them. So health and safety is not such a big issue. In Australia, number one, health and safety regulations is very strict. So you cannot have materials stacked next to an entrance. And everybody agrees, everybody follows. Every single Australian would have picked up that needle. We would not allow that to happen. Okay? So that's the culture. Number two is enforcement. If anything goes wrong, it's very, very expensive. So if the pedestrian access is not maintained, we phone up the local council, the whole site will be shut down. The government comes, shuts down the site. That's it. You know how much money the contractor is going to lose, right? Number three, prefabrication. So we will never mix concrete on site. If you don't mix concrete on site, there's no sand on site, there's no cement on site, there's no aggregate on site. Concrete is ready mix, it comes, it's pumped. Are you talking about the Melbourne Connect right across from Melbourne University? Yes, so Melbourne Connect, yeah, there's a concrete pump maybe at 3 different locations and it's pumped straight onto site. A lot of the columns are precast. The facade is precast. So there's no materials on site. Okay? So then the work site is relatively clean because we do not do conventional reinforced concrete design. My students get very upset with me. I teach 1 whole semester, 3/4 of the semester is reinforced concrete design, reinforced concrete construction. And then they say, what? After learning so much, you tell me we don't do this. But it's true. But you have to learn reinforced concrete before you can go to precast, right? You've got to learn reinforce before you can go pre-stress. So, but then why you spend so much time teaching me something and then tell me don't have to remember? That's how we do it. There's no more reinforced concrete. If I want to bring my students to a site to look at reinforced concrete, I cannot find it in Melbourne. So most of our construction is either prefab or precast. That's why it's nice and clean. And you must have seen the residential buildings. It's timber. Timber studs, no columns, because the walls carry the axial loads. The walls carry the axial loads. So if you have the opportunity, do come and have a look at how we build. It's very different from how you build. But now you understand why you are doing it like this and why we are doing it like that. And the cost if you were to copy. You can copy, but it's very costly. Do you want to copy? Doesn't make sense. It still does not make sense for you to build the way we do. So we have optimized our production system based on our inputs. You have to optimize your production system based on your inputs. Other questions? Yes. Microphone.
Perkenalkan, saya Adela. Saya ingin bertanya, tadi yang dibicarakan kan itu tentang material cost, technology, labor cost. Bagaimana dengan life cycle cost atau operation and maintenance cost yang di mana hal tersebut lebih long term?
I agree with you. I haven't done it. I have not done it. This is just construction cost. Okay. Help me if you have time, because carbon is the next one.
Yes.
Carbon is the next one. Yes.
So right now is the labor is as your unit here.
Yes, 1 hour of labor. And data from Indonesia is not good because I'm using skilled worker cost. Your workers are rarely skilled.
They are coming from the rural area.
Yes.
Migrating to.
Yes, so your cost figures are wrong because we are using skilled worker cost, whereas the actual worker is even lower cost because they are unskilled. So I have, over the last 2 weeks, processed data for Indonesian construction productivity. So your workers are classified as tenaga ahli and tenaga terampil, and productivity for these two classifications have gone up. You also have general workers, just tenaga buruh or daily rated workers. Productivity is flat, no improvement. So how are you going to build your ibu kota baru in a place where you have no workers?
All imported from China.
See, there is an answer. See, so that is another issue. Because when I look at national development, I look at Indonesia. You have to make sure that your ibu kota creates jobs for Indonesians. Right? Everyone's looking after your own country. That's the plan. But if your productivity is flat, that means that your workers are not improving. Whereas your tenaga ahli and tenaga terampil, that's fine. They become more productive over time. And they will be paid more, because if you are more productive, you get more salary. But if your productivity is flat, you will not get more salary. That's the issue.
But maybe it's because of Project Indonesia, maybe 50 to 60% is coming from the government, and they set up all the prices. That's the problem. So sometimes the workers are, well, 5 years, maybe the rate of workers is not moving,
no increase,
right?
yes.
Because there are regulations
For wages.
wages.
Yeah, so there are lots of issues. Email me if you want to have a chat. I'm still here for the next 2 weeks. All right? Until 15, yes. Well, until 14. I fly out 2 a.m. on the 15th, so
Okay.
don't try to look for me on the 15th. Okay? Any other questions? Yes. 2 questions. That one first.
Hello sir, my name is Cahaya. We know that the cost of crane, the cost of precast is very high in Indonesia. With the condition of Indonesia, economic, politics, what is the solution to depress the price? To decrease the price, the cost of crane and precast and stuffs? Thank you.
Okay. Think of the role of the businessman. So there is the business person, a perusahaan that is doing precast. What is his first objective? Make money. So why would he want to reduce the cost? He has to make money. Or these days, I cannot say he or she has to make money. So they are always driven by profit. He or she must make enough profit to pay for wages and pay for capital, because he or she has used money to buy the machines. So the cost is fixed plus profit. So you cannot reduce those costs. The only way forward is to increase your labor costs. Your labor costs must improve. For your quality of life to improve, your wages must improve. For your wages to improve, your skills must improve. Correct? Otherwise, you can't give people money for nothing. You have to make them more productive. And to make them more productive, you train them. And the ratio will change. When your labor cost is high, your precast and your machines become relatively cheap. Because those machines are made overseas. Just like your iPhone is made overseas. You cannot ask Apple, well, I don't have an iPhone, I'm cheap. You can't ask Apple to reduce the price of the iPhone. Apple exists to make a profit. Correct? Next question. Mike.
Sebelumnya perkenalkan, nama saya Abdul Aziz. Sebelumnya maaf saya bertanya dengan bahasa Indonesia.
No problem.
Saya ingin melihat secara lebih makro ekonominya lebih makro. Ketika ya kalau misalnya tenaga pekerja di Indonesia memiliki satu pelatihan yang khusus, jadi kan labor rate-nya lebih tinggi kan. Nah, dan mungkin secara spontan mungkin si kontraktornya bakal beralih dari metode dengan intens labor menjadi yang saving labor. Nah, itu kan berpengaruh dengan tingkat employment rate di Indonesia. Dan menurut Anda bagaimana pendapat dari Bapak kalau misalnya di Indonesia menerapkan saving labor method, tapi dampaknya di employment rate-nya pasti bakal langsung tinggi gitu. Terima kasih.
Yes, that's a very good question. If you train them, they become more productive. You need less workers, but you have too many workers. Well, that's exactly your problem. I don't have an answer. So you have to balance what is most important, giving them jobs or improving quality of life, higher salary. I don't know. I don't have the answer for you. I think it's all. You're going to do everything.
It happens. In the 80s, we developed housing, and prefabricated housing.
Yes.
But it suddenly stopped because of the condition of this employment. Yeah, because we need employment at the time. Yeah, for the people from rural area coming to the city, and because of that, the strategy at the time we stopped making prefabricated housing programs. I'm designing one of a prefabricated housing here in Bandung, but it stopped. Suddenly I stopped.
See?
Yeah.
So some policy initiatives override. So if your national strategy is to provide jobs, then you adopt more labor-intensive systems. But you have to understand that if you go labor-intensive, there will be less technology. So your country will not progress in terms of construction. That is the price you pay. You have to evaluate this. As an outsider, I have no right to say anything. I can only tell you what will happen. I have no right to say it is your country. You decide. Is it labor, employment that is more important, or technology that is more important? I can show you what happens in Melbourne. I can predict what will happen here, but it is your choice. You and your government has to decide. Okay? Outsiders teach you how to decide, but the decision is yours because you live with the decision. Yes, I agree. You train them, you need fewer of them. You give them tools, you need fewer workers. Yes. There's no solution. You decide. Right? Or you ask the government to spend more, build more infrastructure. But who's going to pay for it? Who's going to pay the loan? The loan has to be repaid. Don't ask China for loans. China's not going to solve all your problems. Okay? China will not solve all your problems. They can give you loans. You have to repay the loans. Your kereta cepat.
Yeah.
Have you guys worked out how long it takes to pay back kereta cepat?
Yes.
That is provided you achieve the ridership. Any other questions? Yes.
Maaf bertanya lagi untuk menindaklanjuti yang tadi. Sebenarnya menurut Bapak, apakah kita di masa yang akan mendatang, ya pasti Indonesia saat ini masih harus menggunakan metode yang mengintenskan pekerja. Nah, menurut Bapak, apakah di masa akan yang mendatang, apakah semua negara di dunia harus menggunakan konstruksi dengan saving labor, atau harus seimbang antara jumlah negara yang menggunakan saving labor sama negara dengan menggunakan metode intensive labor method?
There is no one answer for all the countries in the world. You have to decide what is most important. Okay?
There's no black or white.
There's no black or white. There is no exact answer. This is not an exact science. This is not architecture. This is more social science and economics. Who do you want to help? Just like governments, they find it very difficult to make policy decisions, because if I help this group loses. If I help this group loses. So that's why it's so difficult to be government. They have to decide what to do, maximum benefit. So over here, you can use some of these theories and look at what is the maximum benefit. You guys know calculus, right? So if I can write that equation mathematically, then you just do a D value add over the max. You maximize, yeah, you just maximize. What is the maximum gain to society? Is it number of workers? Is it higher wages? Is it more precast? Profits to the precaster, profits to the machine operator, profits to capital. So all that can be modeled. You have experts here who can teach you how to model that. Question is, somebody has to take responsibility for that decision. Who wants to decide? Because the mathematics is not that hard. You can work it out. Now, once you make the decision, how do you convince the people here who will win? They all support. People who lose, that happens. Are the politicians willing to make that call? Because if you lose, nah, you're not going to be happy. You're going to be protesting. So there must be some people who win, some people who lose. Just like globalization. Some people win, some people lose. In Australia, lots of manufacturing workers have no jobs because construction buys materials from China. What do? We buy steel from China, we buy curtain wall from China, we buy glass from China. As many things as possible, we will buy from China. What about local jobs? Gone. Back until 2017, we have 3 car manufacturers in Australia. Today, we have none. We don't make cars anymore. We import all our cars.
Holden, no more?
Gone. Holden's gone. Holden, Toyota, gone. Ford, gone. Gone. Close shop. Even Toyota can't make money in Australia. Okay? Close. Our labor cost is too high. Like I told you, plumber makes more money than a prof. So, what are you doing at university? You see, that's why I ask my students, what are you doing at university? Go be a plumber.
Well, in London, the plumber use a Lamborghini. They have a
Better car, yeah,
Lamborghini.
they got better cars than us.
200 pounds. 200 pounds for 1 hour.
For 1 hour, yes.
200 pounds for 1 hour. My scholarship is only 380 pounds per month.
Ah, per month.
Per month. So I'm very afraid of plumbers.
So you can see how.
So that's why in UK at the time, growing in the mid 80s, growing a do-it-yourself shop.
Yes,
So
very.
every handyman in the house, usually they use it rather than calling for the laborers.
Yeah.
For
We do everything ourselves.
Yeah.
We do everything
Do it
ourselves.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Even making
No, there are some trades that are licensed, so you cannot touch. Like plumbing and electrical are licensed trades. So that's why their wages are very high.
So maybe for Indonesia there's rural economy, traditional economy, there's a national economy, there's an international economy. Maybe for the high technology one, we can use it in Jakarta. Yeah, Jakarta, yeah, where now they are. But for the rural area in the secondary cities, maybe we can still we still use traditional method of
Traditional
contracting.
labor-intensive methods, yes. But the good question will be Ibu Kota. How are you going to build Ibu Kota? Ibu Kota Baru. Because that is very interesting and that's very challenging. Because we know Jakarta is a modern city.
Yeah.
So you can adopt some of these technologies. And I spoke to PTPP. They have precast plant. They have machineries for hire. So they are very modern. They understand all this. And they can sell precast. But I think outside of Jakarta, you can't. In Australia, everything's precast. So you understand now why we do certain things. Don't always dream that, high-income country, you have better technology than us.
For example, equipment like cranes in Kalimantan must be very expensive because they actually they construct here and then they assemble, shipping and then assemble there, because the shipping is not sufficient to bring the heavy.
Oh, you can't bring the heavy vehicles across.
Yeah.
Okay, I set up a plant in Kuching, then I deliver to.
Okay, yeah, that's good. I have a friend in Sarawak, many friends of contractors in Sarawak, and they are using their
Cranes,
in
yes.
mining industry.
Yes, all from Tawau down to Kalimantan.
Yeah.
I used-
Hubsen Group.
No, I used to work for a Sabah company.
Okay.
Yeah, construction.
So my experience in Bukit Asam that time, we need to have a HB of 1 meter and 120 meter. We cannot, Krakatau still cannot do that. So when we do that, because there is a policy from government is supposed to be from inside the country, buy from the local. When we import it from Japan, it's actually the cost is 1/3 of the Krakatau made HB, because they made it by themselves, by
All the beam, yeah,
non-destructive. So it's quite difficult at that. It's during 1980s. So we pay a lot of money for that.
For your own local products. Okay.
So actually there is some kind of economic of scale for the equipment, right? For when the volume of work in Indonesia is high, then they are good. The unit price is lower.
So tell me about Krakatau Steel. What happened to them? Bankrupt.
I think the technology is already outdated.
Because of import from China is
Yes, import from China is cheaper, so you can't compete against China. So what do you do about China? You guys got to work a lot harder, that's all. Work harder than the Chinese. Correct.
But I think the factory, the plant in China is very huge. So the economy of scale is very huge.
Yes.
Because I remember at the time when I was in Japan, all the consultants in Japan contracting the detailed design drawing in China, and they have a factory of detailed design drawing factory. So they produce it with the kanji, all the things.
So you have to think about how you develop Indonesia. What can you do that other people cannot do so well? Alright? Not only in terms of architectural design, but in your economy. No, it's a... You've read about globalization? Previously, companies are divided by geography. Okay? So if you are in Indonesia, you don't compete with somebody in India. Today, the supply chain is chopped up. You can compete anything, anywhere. That's the risk. What you can do, somebody else can do better, cheaper. So you have to be the best at what you do. So this is particularly worrying for us in Australia, because there are other countries that are more competitive. You would think that construction is very hard to export because you build local, but everything else other than the local assembly can be brought in. Now if you're bringing in from 20 kilometers, you can also bring in from 2,000 kilometers. There's no difference. I spoke to a precaster in Melbourne who was trying to supply precast components to Perth. You know how far Perth and Melbourne is? Perth is in Western Australia, Melbourne is to the south. They put in a bid, they lost the bid to a precaster in China. They can actually lose a bid for precast components to a manufacturer from China. So to supply from China to Perth is cheaper than Melbourne, Perth.
They have very good carrier.
It comes on a barge. Yeah, it comes on a barge. See? So the competition today is not from the person sitting next to you. It is the person sitting at a university in India or China. So don't just think that you have to be best in your class. You have to be the best in the world. Alright? Because those jobs will disappear. Construction, you have quantity surveyors. So I have a class with international students. So I always ask them, look at the person next to you. Where is he or she from? China, India, right? If that person chooses to go back there, jobs will disappear. And it has disappeared. Quantity surveying firms are outsourcing jobs to India. We like India because they speak English. The whole job goes there for 10% the cost. Only 10%. Now that puts a lot of pressure on the worker in Melbourne, right? Because if I tell you your salary today, somebody is willing to do it at 10% in India, you must be very worried.
Is it the quality sale for the 10%?
Right now the quality is not so good, so they only subcontract the easy work to them. The more difficult work is still in Melbourne. Yes, but you know what we're doing? We're training the Indian fella in the class. We are training them. Now, it just takes them a few years before they are just as good. Right? They are sitting next to us in class. So, that person needs to work 2 years in Melbourne, decides to go home,
Build a company,
subcontracts the work, hires 10 other people to do the work. Competition is global today. Okay? Architecture firms in Melbourne tell us that they are winning jobs in China. Why? Because Melbourne has a different way of designing. How many years can we maintain that competitive advantage? Chinese architects will learn very soon.
I remember I was working, developing a factory in Melbourne. But the detailed design is very detailed, you know. But compared to American, compared to when they develop detail, it's very detailed. So it's quite difficult, being a consultant in Melbourne.
Yes, but it's open to competition today. It's open to competition today. Like the Melbourne School of Design. Now, if you are interested, I can show you videos later on. Melbourne School of Design, get onto the website, the new building. There was a design competition won by Nadir Terani in Boston. They had to work together with a Melbourne architect. Alright? So one company in Boston, one company in Melbourne. What is the time difference? 12 hours. So they would do some of the work there on a shared drive, continue in Melbourne, Melbourne finishes, continue. So it does, when we ask them how did they work, and they say it's seamless. Seamless, it doesn't matter. So the architect in Boston and the architect in Melbourne work perfectly well together. Now this is two high-income countries. They are the same level, so they can work together very well. Now can you imagine, once India or China or Philippines develop that same level of competence, those jobs will disappear. Those jobs will go. So it all depends on how good you are and how productive you are. Or learn English very well and start competing for jobs. Okay?
It's a must.
It's a must because the competition, it's global competition today. Don't think that your population is 270 million, your competition is here. No, your competition is across the world.
Even right now, maybe foreign contractors, foreign consultants foreign consultants are now everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah. You go down to Jakarta, they're all everywhere. They are now aiming at the higher level jobs, but eventually they will be competing with you for jobs.
we are competing. Our engineers now competing with company like Ecom, who acquire 100 companies in the world.
Yes.
And they are controlling something from Hong Kong.
Correct.
Yeah, so we're better now make a collaboration. So somehow I'm collaborating with all the companies now. Rather than competing, collaborating.
Yes, you collaborate rather than compete. But you must still be competent within your area. Otherwise, somebody else will take those jobs. Somebody else will take those jobs. So you have to be very careful about what you do.
So the economists say that.
Yes.
It's the economist who has to say that.
So it's good that you are getting a different perspective of architecture and construction today. Don't just think that you have to be good in architecture or construction. The economics control. The market is actually very, very powerful. You can design, the builders will come and say something else. Look, it's not economical. Look at the cost of cranes, for example. So expensive here. I never realized it was so expensive here. Because for our students, anything, crane. Get a crane for tomorrow. Okay? And I'm sure over here, if you call up, you want a crane for tomorrow, your boss will say, hey, wait. Do you really need a crane?
Crane is a long lead item.
Oh, long lead item. Okay, ours is called tomorrow, the crane comes.
Long lead item itu kita menunggu berapa lama. So you have to make your schedule a long lead item.
Oh, okay.
Like 1 month.
Oh, ours is tomorrow. Ours is tomorrow. If you need a crane tomorrow, the crane will come. You just have to pay. Or it will not happen. Okay. See, you have different issues. You have different issues. So I'm hoping that you guys become better architects, all right? Now, okay, next question. Why are architects paid less than taxi drivers in Melbourne? What do you think? What do you think? Why do you think architects are paid less than taxi drivers in Melbourne? Not fresh graduate, 10 years experience.
Is it because of scarcity? So taxi driver is much more scarce in Melbourne.
What do you think? No, now with Uber, Grab. No, there's Uber. There's no Grab in Melbourne. Only Uber. What do you think? What are your skills? Come on, what are your skills? What are you trained as? Architect, what do you do? Design, what else? You can design, you can draw, can you manage contracts, can you manage projects? You don't like those things, but those are the things that get paid a lot more. So Melbourne architects are very good at design. They can't do anything else. Okay? The design part of the business,
It's only 20%.
yes, is the most exciting part. I agree with you. It is the most creative part, but it doesn't pay. It does not pay. Because you are so far removed from the money side of the business. Why do you design? You are unlocking value, right? Where is the value coming from? From the use of the building. The developer wants the building. The developer is driven by money. The design, if you only focus on design, you are too far removed from the money side of the business. So that's my take on why Australian architects don't make enough money. They have not taught them economics. They have not taught them how to manage contracts. Because I'm sure over here, the architect is the most powerful person in the construction supply chain, right?
Yeah.
If you say no payment means no payment. Yeah, but in Australia, the architect is only design. No value. So you please think about where the value remains and train them to maintain those values, those skills, which is contract admin, project management, design management. Yeah, you get all your kick from design. Quantities. Yes, all those things are very important because it's the business side of architecture. I know some of you are young, so you think, that one boring lah. The design is the kick, right?
Yeah.
You all love to make all these things. Yes. No, doesn't bring in the money. Doesn't bring in money, okay? Just think about where Australian architects are today, because they've given away all those skills. You come into our building, you see all sorts of models. They are fantastic at making models and bringing up ideas. Yeah, that's good. Doesn't pay the bills. Scary shit. Can you imagine making, after 10 years, still make less money than a taxi driver? How much does a Grab driver make here a month? How many times do architects make on top, above taxi driver? Do you have a gauge? Architects, are architects well paid here? Come on. No? Two times of a taxi driver. How many times of a school teacher?
There is a survey. I think McKinsey make a survey of income. Engineers is 18 millions
A year.
per month. 18 millions per month.
80 million, 80 juta rupiah. 18 juta. Okay.
Architects only 7.
7 juta. Okay. Taxi driver 4 juta. School teacher 5 juta. So what are you doing in architecture school? School is next door.
Yeah.
Civil is next door. Come on.
Many of my students going to Pricewaterhouse, job
Yeah.
like a good
Yes.
because of that.
Of that, yeah. You see, so sometimes you have to speak to your lecturers, teach you the skills that can make some money. Design is something you do in your free time.
Yeah.
Like a hobby.
It's like
Design is something you do in your free time, unless you're willing to be poor. Some of my colleagues don't like me to say this, you know. All my architecture colleagues are like, no, we love design.
Actually, I said same. I talk to them.
Same thing. Design doesn't pay the bills.
No.
Yeah. You got to learn all the professional skills. That's where the money is. But they're students, you see, so you always dream about design. You want to be the next IM Bay.
next time you have to have certified. Yeah? Sometimes architects forgot to certify themselves in association or in
Because the service is only 3% of the economical of the industry. Like the design, 3%.
Only 3%. Design fee is 3%. Yes, but then you have to manage the contract.
Yeah.
And that's included in the 3%.
No, this is different. It's only for design.
Design.
Become 6%.
So you must aim for the 6%, not 3%.
Yeah.
Even though thinking is in the 3%, but you're not rewarded enough for your design. Okay? You're not rewarded enough for design. It's the other half of the work that you do that pays a lot better. So don't just think about design. Yes, design is important.
Unless you win the Ibu Kota
Ibu Kota project, you win the Ibu Kota project, then it's quite good.
That's good.
You need your company and the Sabah and Sarawak
Prepare to move down, right? To move to Kalimantan. Yeah. No, they have moved down.
They're already there.
They're already there. You know that in Malaysia, we always complain about the Indonesian haze. You burn the ladang kelapa sawit or the rice, then the haze blow over to Malaysia. You know who owns the ladang kelapa sawit? Malaysian company. So that's why we okay, don't scold the Indonesian.
Actually, I met all the contractors of palm oil. They're coming from Malaysia. The person, the orang-orang is coming from North Sumatra. The company from Malaysia learned a lot from North Sumatra palm oil. Many of them.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you very
Okay, I
much.
think time is up already. Yeah, it's 11 o'clock, I think. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Keep it in the house.